So with one of the final embargoes lifting today, I wanted to go through something that I don't think we really have had a chance to talk about or go in depth about. And that is the new Empire rework that is being added in the Empire Undivided patch with the Hunter and the Beast DLC. A mouthful right there. So before we dive in on the actual mechanics of the Empire, what I want to look at is take a look at this map. It's already been just a little bit tweaked and kind of revamped and just given a little bit of a breath of fresh air, to be totally honest, and I like already what we get. But of course, the two biggest standout portions of this, outside of the keeps themselves, are the Lower Lorne Forest over here in Nordland. We had talked about this during our video on the Empire rework, and it looks like they added it in. So you will have Wood Elves as part of at least a diplomatic portion of Nordland and Midland, and depending on which Empire faction you're playing, might actually be something you would either oppose or ally with. Now, in addition to that, we have the Misty Hills here. And this is where we get the Black Pit and Wrecker's Point. Wrecker's Point is actually filled with like forest goblin pirates. It's actually pretty funny from the lore. But from the Black Pit here, we're going to be seeing a presence of orcs smack dab in the middle of the Empire lands. So playing through an Empire campaign now is going to have a lot more variety attached to it. You're not just going to be playing against a bunch of Empire soldiers throughout the entirety of the old world. Now you're going to have orcs, you're going to have wood elves, you're going to have, again, goblins through here, dwarfs over here, you've got your vampires over here, and you have Norska and Chaos in these directions. Well, of course, Bretonia over here as well, but still. You have a lot more going on for you. In addition to that, we're playing as the Golden Order, which is the new faction for the mighty Balthasar Gelt. Now, obviously, the Wheel of Magic still is going to apply to him. As a whole, his characteristics haven't changed a whole lot. But we're not going to really focus on Gelt in this video. What we're going to focus on are the new mechanics for the Empire. Namely, of course, Imperial Authority, Imperial Prestige, and the new Fealty system. So let's kind of go through these piecemeal here. So we'll start with Imperial Authority. And Imperial Authority is a measure of how the other elector counts within the Empire view your faction. Low Imperial Authority will not only cause you to lose the confidence of your subjects, but may eventually lead to the other elector counts deciding to oust you. You start off automatically at Stagnant, which is a -5 growth to all provinces. You want to get here to Absolute Imperial Authority, in which case you get Elector Count Fealty increased chance of 5% each turn for each elector count, then 3 growth increase and 5% tax rate in all of your provinces. Now, as you drop in Imperial Authority to Declining, to Fading, to Crumbling, all the way to Calamitous, you'll deal with a shit ton of civil wars. But you really want to keep these up as much as you can. Even Crumbling, I guess, is like that final breaking point, which you're going to deal with a massive penalty to growth, tax rate, public order, and leadership. In addition to that, elector counts could lose fealty with you. So how do you keep your authority high? Well, you keep it high by instating elector counts. Certain political events, certain dilemmas, as it were, will occur per turn. You can decide who you want to side with, and who you side with will determine whether or not you gain or lose Imperial Authority, and then gain or lose fealty with that respective elector count. Also, you have certain missions you'll be put on, you preventing civil wars from other elector counts, and then getting more, it says Empire settlements returned. And what that means is, if you take a look over here at Sylvania, look over here at Ostermark, if you look at any portion that is not controlled by Imperial hands, Marienburg included, you need to bring these back into the fold of the Empire as a whole. So as you do that, you will increase your Imperial Authority. You will lose Imperial Authority if you lose elector counts, if certain political events happen, like we were talking about earlier, and if you confederate with anyone, you will lose Imperial Authority, as just like in the same way that in the past, when you confederate, you get a certain diplomatic penalty to other Empire factions or High Elf factions, depending on who you do it with. The same thing kind of kicks in here. You're going to lose some Imperial Authority because you use so much of it to confederate. Also, you'll get, if you declare war or get declared war on by other elector counts and have Empire provinces' capitals raised. So if you are dealing with any kind of greenskin play, or if you have a bunch of vampires rampaging through your lands, or Norskins and Chaos rampaging, or even Beastmen, if they raise a capital, it's going to really hinder your Imperial Authority. So it kind of forces you to play a little bit of a strategic and or I guess, a little bit more tactical of an approach to your Empire playthrough. You're not just simply trying to gobble up all the lands like a hungry hippo, you know, Gelt to the hungry hippo. You're trying to actually make this work and create stability for the old world and for the Empire. And with that, you have the new Fealty system. We'll go into Electoral Machinations as well. But you can see these are all kind of color-coded based off of the actual electoral province themselves. Very thematic, very cool. But you can also see this little like Imperial coin. And this coin dictates their fealty level. Their fealty level will then tell you how close they are on a scale from 1 to 10 to, you know, confederating with you more or less. And you can see right here, oh, their base fealty is 5. Fealty is a measure of how strongly an elector believes in the cause of the Empire. Reaching a maximum fealty of 10 will result in the elector offering the confederation of their faction, whereas an elector whose fealty reaches 0 will attempt to secede from the Empire. So it's really, you're kind of balancing that fine knife's edge on keeping as many people happy as you can. You can actually even appoint your own elector counts once you take over the respective province or confederate with them. So you get access to a lot of things. But namely, of course, if I'm taking a look at Balthasar Gelt, I'm getting access to Eldred's Guard. That's his individual, or that's Solland's actual Regiment of Renown unit that is relegated exclusively to the campaign. And I get Grudge Settler, his Rune Fang, and you can see that this is already on the character. We'll take a look at that in a little bit here. And you also get an attribute. So Elector Count of Solland. On the literal bleeding edge of warfare, Solland's Count Eldred is engaged in a constantly raging conflict against greenskin incursions from the Badlands to the south of his borders. And you can see that this incurs a minus 5% upkeep for crossbowmen and spearmen, local recruitment capacity increase in all provinces, and vanguard deployment, as well as minus 5% for Imperial supply units, all armies faction-wide. Now, if I click over here, let's just to say to Hochland, I can take a look. The Elector Count of Hochland gives me 3% missile infantry, campaign line of sight 15%, campaign movement 10%, and upkeep minus 5% for Imperial supplies. I'm going to just kind of click through these here real quick. So as you kind of increase your fealty by getting into these various altercations, getting into all these wars or helping out with wars and securing provinces, you can see that you'll secure more and more elector counts, and thus the benefits of that elector count confederating with your faction. And then also you get access to people like this, the Knights of the Everlasting Light. And we'll go through all of them real quick here so I can show you the... I'm going to mouse over them quickly, and then we'll move to the next one. And if you want to see the actual breakout of all the stats, just go ahead and jump back to that point and pause. Yes. It kind of just helps out to move this video on a little bit here. But you can see out the gate, I mean, Sterling, I'm not a great odds with, a 4 out of 10. That's a 40%. Spur River Patrol, a nice crossbowman. But I can take a look at Averland. Averland is very close to confederating with me. And you get the Elector Count of Averland, the Mother's Ruin, that is your Rune Fang, Noble Sons of Abroad, the Pistoliers. Look over here to Weisenland, we're going to get this, the Bloodbringer. Weisenland Rune Fang is pretty sweet there. Look at that, minus 48 to speed and minus 9% to vigor. Pretty beastly. The Emperor's Wrath, the awesome new blue steam tank that you saw in the Hunter and the Beast DLC trailer. I'll take a look over here at Reichland. You know we're going to get the Caribou Greatswords. That's one we've already seen. We also get the Dragon Tooth here. It's the same Reichland Runefang ability that you get if you were to take Karl Franz himself. Elector Count of Reichland. Boris Todbringer himself. And having him confederate gives you Boris Todbringer, so that's worth noting. But this gives you a passive ability of Frenzy, which is pretty awesome here as well. Leg Biter, and keep in mind that this is the Lord that is the Rune Fang gets these abilities. You don't just say, okay, now I have the Elector Count of Midland, my faction gets this. No, the Lord is the current owner of this state's capital, which grants them the following benefits. So the Lord will then get this ability here, get this unique item, of course, the Rune Fang, the Leg Biter, punishes his hit points. And then the Swords of Ulrich will be accessible to him as a recruitable unit. So, going ahead at Theodric here. The Crow Feeder, which is a nice little direct damage aura. Nordland Mariners. Marienburg, there we go. Marienburg, of course. The Wasteland, as it were. The key to Stadstrad. Which is not a Rune Fang, by the way. It is a relic. Bordermen. We didn't talk about the Stubborn Bulls here. So Elector Count of Ostland. Brain Wounder, 40% AP and weapon damage, pretty badass.
Yes.
Leave. We went through Ostermark, we went through Hochland. We haven't gone through this yet. Enables flaming attacks. Stonebreaker. Nice Thunder Armor ability there, plus 44 melee attack as well. And Suitsen's Guns. And I believe that is everyone else. Yeah, we went through this, went through this, went through this, went through this. Only one we haven't talked about is Manfred von Karstein, so the Elector Count of Sylvania. You get Stahlberg's letter as well. Just a second, there we go. You're going to get a lot of benefits for fighting against vampire counts in general. A lot of immune to a double experience gain from them. Immune to psychology. Also, you get the Knights of More. Remember that Creative Assembly, at the time of me publishing this video, they did say they were going to take a look at some of the creative behind this. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, they maybe have done something with that, so we will see in times to come. But so that covers our Imperial Authority, that covers our Fealty. Now there's the Prestige. So the Prestige is the measure of how influential your faction leader is within the political landscape of the Empire. Various events may occur, at which point you can spend Prestige as a political influence to convince others within the Empire to follow your will. Now this is going to be very similar to what you see with the Intrigue and Court from the High Elves. You can gain this by building certain buildings. They'll give you prestige per turn. Political events, battles won, settlements owned. You'll lose it though from, again, political events and doing the Electoral Machinations. Now what are those Electoral Machinations? Well, I shall show thee. Again, it's just like you see with the High Elves. I'm going to choose, hey, you know what? Remember we talked about civil wars? Well, I'm going to prevent a civil war by having these two characters improve their relations to one another. But you know what? I know that I really want Weisenland here. I don't want them to be at 2 fealty. I want them to be higher. Let's improve our relations with them. Boom. Press this thing. 25 diplomatic relations with them, and we move closer to getting better fealty with them at the same time. So this kind of helps you keep positive relations with anyone you're kind of on that edge with already going to war with, and it keeps you at a pretty good razor's edge. You have to pretty much determine how you want to use your prestige. So with that, you pretty much have a good rundown, an idea now for some of the new additions to the Empire. One of the big overhauls, though, is their technology tree. Take a look at this bad boy. You'll remember this from our Marcus Wolfhart video. The only thing different here is the Elector counts rather than the Hunt Expedition. Everything else exactly the same. You can choose how to build out your infantry, your cavalry, your war machines, your missiles, how you want to do certain civic bonuses, and so on and so forth. Certain trade and industry stuff. So this is where you're going to get stuff like upkeep production for your Empire Knights, Knights Blazing Sun, Reichsguard units. You can go over here for stuff like additional trade or your growth. You can influence increasing your diplomatic relations with, say, like High Elves, with Dwarfs, with Bretonia. Or that's Empire, with with Bretonia over here. But then you can also get benefits when you're fighting against Norsca and Chaos, when you're fighting against Elves. It just depends on how you want to go. And that's what I really like about this technology tree. It's very granular, and it's very open to the way you want to build your campaign. Maybe you want to secure the old world and then move in a very specific direction with very specific allies. You can build that out from this technology tree. It's a way more cohesive than what we currently get in Empire from Total War Warhammer 1. Now, there is another big thing that I haven't really touched on yet, and it's the new fort system. There's Fort Sol here in Winter's Teeth Pass, Helmgart over here at Axbite Pass, and Fort Burb, which I don't know how to pronounce, over here in Gisaro Gap. Now, a lot of people are worried. They're like, you know what? This is just going to be the same thing as the High Elves. I don't want to play another High Elf. Let me get a specific one here. We'll go with. I don't want to play another High Elf Gate. They're a little lackluster. This is not going to be worth my while. Well, it's funny you should say that. So, let's do this. Before I press, I'm going to pretty much close the video out in the next little portions here. But I will say is, as you secure all of these guys, you then get an additional benefit, which I have yet to unlock. I'm waiting to do this campaign full on with you guys. So if you're watching this video right now, I will just be coming back in town from San Diego, and I will be streaming this afternoon. So this video should go live around 8, 9, 10 a.m. and then you'll be able to see the stream of this campaign. We can do it all together around 2 or 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So be on the lookout for that. We'll be jumping through this together. And you can replace these individual elector counts with your own candidates. So the Empire office system is completely gone. You can choose who is in power in what locations, which is pretty cool. But, okay, we've put a Huntsman General here at Fort Sol. Got a good little garrison here. Let's go ahead and end this turn. I don't care what happens up here. Bear with me, of course, we are dealing with mortal empires. So as a result, we're going to have to deal with a 5.5 hour end turn time. That has not been fixed in the patch notes that I'm aware of. But I think that a lot of people are really going to enjoy these fort battles. I kind of freaked out when I saw them. And maybe I'm hyping it up too much in the closing moments before these two factions meet on the battle map here. But I'm very excited because this tells me that Creative Assembly has really listened to a lot of the complaints about the current siege system, how they seem very lackluster and boring by comparison to how they're portrayed in the lore. Sieges are so massive in the lore of Warhammer. In addition to that, sieges in a game like this have been so amazing. When you look at Rome 2, when you look at all these other like medieval, even Rome 1 had really awesome sieges, and you just don't get that with Total War Warhammer 2. Shogun 2 had amazing sieges too. So what you get here is finally something that gives us a little bit more granularity. And you can even see right here, there's going to be a lot going on this battle map. Ultimately, it does follow the same skeleton of Total War Warhammer 1 and 2's sieges so far. So don't think this is going to completely blow it out of the water. But what's important to note here is you're going to get tiers. And you can see how these tiers are actually pretty useful. This is still a pretty standard wall by all intents and purposes. You know, when you play with the Elven Gates, you have a pretty beefy wall. You have a way of doing things. But at the end of the day, it's kind of all pretty, basic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my mortars back here. They're still going to be able to reach, which is huge. I'm going to put, let's say, my Huntsman General, like right here. Who cares, really? I just want him kind of... Oh, no! Do not want him down there. And I'm going to take these guys, put them right here. See how this kind of works itself out. And it is pretty damn cool. I want you guys there. I want this tower firing. So let's just go ahead and start this battle. I'm going to press this on fast forward so you can already kind of see what's going on, right? I'm controlling all the towers. The towers are shooting down. My mortars are shooting from the 3rd tier, which is quite nice. Things are getting in range. And, I'm going to have to start dealing with... Okay, they're going to start climbing those walls soon. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pause this. I want... My spearmen are already in place. I want my swordsmen here. I want my archers off the walls now. I want them here. I want them here. My Huntsman General back here. And actually, no, open up this choke point more or less. Let these guys all kind of rampage out. Oh, we'll get these great swords out there too. And just completely abandoning the walls here. Because, you see, you can jump to the 3rd tier from this way, but with a larger army, obviously one more dedicated to defending this point, you're actually exposed to gunfire the entire way up. So this opens the game up for a way more interesting and way more cohesive and fun style of siege. Get out of there. We're gonna lose a unit of swordsmen, but that is okay. Getting everyone over here. So this gives you a really good idea of what to expect with the sieges to come in the new DLC. I am personally extremely stoked on these sieges. I think they are so cool. I mean, I was playing this the other day and I just had a great time defending this thing. Okay, I'm securing myself a choke point. It's pretty awesome. It's not just going to be, I could funnel them through the gate if I wanted to, but this as a whole makes for a way more enjoyable siege experience. Okay, I'm already setting up here. Fortunately, the AI isn't the smartest thing. He's put this guy right here. Now I'm going to do the oil flask on him. Get that off. Okay, so the... I mean, like, already you can see that this is a way more fun campaign situation than before. Oof! That arrow of Akshi did so much damage. And I'm just choking up this choke point here, sending everyone into the fray. I got my mortar shooting into everything. So there's just a lot more fun to be had here. I overall like it just so much more. It just makes doing sieges pretty damn epic and awesome here. Like, I feel like I'm actually in a siege, and I've actually like, okay, well, we got to retreat from the walls, we got to fall back to the keep, we got to do this, we got to do that. And I mean, you can see I won. It's pretty cool. I'm all about it. So if you're wondering if you should be starting this this campaign, I couldn't say it enough. I think this is the best campaign to be added with the new DLC. I'm really fired up about it, and I really hope that you guys give this one a shot. I know that a lot of people love Empire. It's one of their favorite factions, so hopefully this really kind of rejuvenates your drive to want to get into Empire and have a lot of fun. If you have any questions about this DLC, guys, as always, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. More than happy to field any questions about anything. At this point, I think the final embargo has lifted, so I can talk about whatever I want. Except for Gotrek and Felix. I don't have that. I promise I actually do not have that. So ask away, let me know whatever you want. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.